What's going on, guys? It's GBP baby. Welcome back to another video. I hope everybody's doing well, and yeah, let's get straight into things. So hopefully you've watched yesterday's video. If you remember watching yesterday's video, you'll remember me stating that if price was to give way to this order block, and I'll show you this now, if price traded through this, I was going to be looking for lower prices, and you can see we wicked down it in the early hours of the day, and then for the rest of the day you can see our price traded through and I've now closed on a nice low. So it's nice to see that price is doing as we expect in terms of, you know, if X happens then Y, and then you can see X happened, so we traded through it, disrespecting it, and then Y followed. So it's nice to see this happen. We can go to the daily now and we can look at where we're at. So you can see now we've closed below significant swing low. Why is this a significant swing low? Well, it's the low of last week for one. We've closed below it on a daily basis, and we've left a consolidation. So we were in a consolidation for a while. Days like this, I do want to let you guys know it's not easy to predict when or how price is going to leave a consolidation. We just have to wait, and you can see we've finally done that here. So now we can readjust and start to adapt to the conditions. So definitely don't go too hard on yourself with thinking, oh, I didn't get in on the move or whatnot, because there's definitely going to be a lot more left for the week, especially with the amount of news we have. But anyway, what are we looking at now? Well, you can see we've left the consolidation. We've closed below this significant swing low. So now I'm looking at this down wick right here. So let's get that drawn out. And I'm expecting this down wick to provide resistance for price to send it lower. So it's acting kind of like an inversion fair value gap basically. And I'm looking at the middle level, which is going to be 50% consequent encroachment. And I'm also going to be looking at the 25% level. I'm using the 25% level as well because preferably price respects the 25% level and doesn't even think about going to the 50% level. And the reason for that is because it will just show more weakness, which is better on our behalf in terms of getting in on trades, etc. So in terms of targeting, there is an implied fair value gap down here that I'd like to think that price can reach for. So we'll get that drawn out. We'll make this yellow, and we'll just type in, we'll type in fair value gap, and that's on the daily, isn't it? So it's a significant level, and this is an implied fair value gap because you can see, well, there's only delivery on the upside here. Basically, we have an up close candle here, and you can see there's a little gap between here and here. So there's only upside delivery, so price should seek to deliver to it on the downside. If you've been watching me, you'll know about this. But if you have any more questions, you can always join the Discord and ask for more specifics. But anyway, let's go down to the 4 hour. And you'll see that these levels are marked out, and you'll see how a fair value gap has formed right here. Now, if we are bearish, and this is a change in the state of delivery, as in we're expecting lower prices, price shouldn't worry about trading back into this fair value gap. So preferably, I'd like to see this get left open, which would mean that I'm looking for this 25% level to get traded to. Now, when I say this, don't get me wrong, price can trade to this fair value gap, and don't get me wrong, I'll have my eyes set on it. However, I'm not going to be expecting price trade to it, as in this is something I want to see get left open that will hint to me that we're going to have lower prices. So moving into the new day, I'm going to be looking for price to trade higher to create a Judah swing, preferably just tapping into this level, again staying below this 25% level so that price can be sent lower and into these lows. You can see some relative equal lows right here which have been formed. That's going to be sell side liquidity. We'll thicken that up. So we have relative equal lows below this low and this low. And then we obviously have this massive fair value gap and that daily fair value gap down here I was talking about, the implied one. Now, it's going to take some work to get through this, so I wouldn't be surprised if price doesn't get down to this daily fair value gap straight away. But at least we have a target of this sell side down here, and obviously it's to start trying to fill this fair value gap right here. But overall, I'm looking for this to get left open and to continue seeing bearish, you know, hints to lower prices. Now, don't get me wrong, price can trade through it, but ideally I'm looking and moving into tomorrow with the expectation that it doesn't, so that we can continue to go long on the pairs and short on dollar. Let's go on the 1 hour real quick, and you'll see how price delivered. You'll see how we kissed that weekly high goodbye. If you haven't watched my videos yet, go watch them. There's a little gap here that would have been optimal trade entry right here, fair value gap, go short, traded lower, closed below, and now we're just consolidating. So as we move into the new day, again, I don't really want to see price take out this high. I'd like to think that we just respect this bearish order block and continue to see lower prices and see us work our way down towards that daily fair value gap and fill in this range. So that's what I'm expecting on dollar. I hope that all makes sense. But yeah, it's nice to finally see some displacement, especially this early in the week. It does say to me that we're going to probably see a lot of activity. but overall I'm not expecting too much. I'm going to drag this out because even if price does get up there, I would like to think that it would leave it pretty quickly. So let's say Asian range we consolidate, we might see London trade into it and then we leave it. But overall I want to see lower prices. So yeah, hope that will make sense. Let's now move excuse me. Let's now move to GBP USD. I think I already had some marking outs. Let's go on the daily. I did get rid of my original markings from the weekly. So you'll see a inversion fair value gap has now formed. So there's delivery on the downside right here, and now we've now closed above it on a daily basis on upside, meaning that this should provide support, this range right here. So I'm going to make this black, and I'm going to do the exact same thing I just did on dollar. We're going to look at the 50% level as the very lowest I'm allowing price to go for me to be bullish, and then the 25% level, which is like a preferred low I'd like to think get made. So let's just get that drawn out like so, right here. And then in terms of targeting, we have a beautiful fair value gap right here for price to try and reach for. Now don't get me wrong, it might not do it in one day, but this is where our draw on liquidity should be, and obviously above this swing high as well. Now this swing high, why this swing high? Because it stands out, simple as. There's a clear curve turn in the market here. I'm looking at this swing high as a draw on liquidity. So this is where I'm looking for price to be trading up to. Let's now go to the 4 hour. And again, you can see a nice fair value gap. That 25% level of the daily is 50% level of the 4 hour. I'll show you what I mean. So here's a 4 hour fair value gap. And if we look at the midpoint of that, you'll see that lines up quite nicely. So yeah, that's pretty much the lowest I want to see price go. If it goes lower than that, so be it. But preferably, I'd like to think we can see some respect given to this so that we can start hunting for longs with the expectation to run for this buy side liquidity here and try and fill that daily fair value gap I was talking about. So pretty simple in terms of expectations. Here you can see today's price action came down and then I've been trading higher since. We haven't quite taken out this high yet, so that's what I mean. I'd like to think that price can run for that pretty early on in the new day, but we do have high impact news that should help drive that. And yeah, if we are bullish and this is a clear change in the state of delivery as in we're looking for buy side right now, then these highs will probably get targeted later in the week, but we don't need to worry about that for now. We should just try and get to here as our first target. Also, it'll be a Persian revert case, as in if this is the Persian of liquidity, then the fact that we've taken out this high on Tuesday means that Wednesday, Thursday and Friday we should be looking for previous highs to get taken, which is why I'm looking at these highs here and here as a nice target for the new day. So yeah, it's going to be quite interesting to say the least, but overall, if we trade below the midnight candle, that's when I'm going to be hunting for buying opportunities with the expectation to offset them above this high and rebalance this daily fair value gap. Hope that will make sense. Now let's finish up on Euro USD. And I've already got my markings here as well. Whoops. Let's go to the daily. Now you'll see we had quite a big day on Euro, and now that this is traded, as soon as this traded above this down close candle right here, we've created a bullish order block. So now I'm simply watching the high of this, and it should act as a bullish order block, obviously. So I'm looking for price to come off of this level and start trading into some kind of bullish PD array. In this case, I'm looking at this implied fair value gap. This is implied just because we've had only downside delivery right here. And yeah, I'd like to see that as a target. Don't get me wrong, we can start trading above this high and into this range, but in terms of my first target for price, I'm looking at this to get traded to. So we've got a daily fair value gap right here, or implied fair value gap. And then this bullish order block that I want to see price find support at to send price higher. But when we get down to the 1 hour, it should be more clear. I am also going to mark out the 50% level off this wick, because this is going to be the very lowest I want price to trade for me to remain bullish on Euro. So let's just make that dashed like so. Now don't get me wrong, if price does go below it, it's not the end of the world. However, I'll simply not be trading or getting involved, because there's certain levels that I want to see get respected for me to remain with my bullish bias, and this is one of them. So I'd like to think that price can stay above this level for me to then expect higher prices on Euro USD. And if we go to the 4 hour, you'll see how we've traded higher, closed above this high. I like to see that. We've got a nice fair value gap right here. Again, this is that bullish order block on the daily's high. So as price comes into that range, we should be accumulating to then offset them in the daily implied fair value gap. Or again, we've got relative equal highs above there if price wants to be extra. So yeah, pretty simple. I hope that all makes sense. But overall, moving into the new day, as soon as we drop below the midnight candle, we should be hunting for buying opportunities, such as a trade into this fair value gap perhaps, or into some kind of 15-minute fair value gap as well. That's usually how it forms. And then looking for longs to then expect the daily implied fair value gap to get traded into and filled, with the same for the potential buy side to get reached for. So I hope that all makes sense, guys. Hope you found this insightful. Don't forget to smash subscribe. I've had a lot of new subscribers recently. I want to say thank you and welcome. And yeah, join the Discord. I am active in there. And I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.